what basically was the mission of the light observation helicopter in the Delta?
Well, about the time I got there, the Ninth Division had been on the Mekong River along where Bin Long was. It was down a ways. But they had been pulled out because Nixon pulled them out. And the other base down in Soc Train, it had a lot of military people down there. They pulled them out of there too. So the 7th and 1st Cav, when I got there flying scouts, we had everything in the Mekong Delta, pretty much south of Saigon on down. So we would go on different missions wherever they would get notifications about maybe some VC movements here, or VC movement there. And then our day would to fly out to that area and do a search, as we call them, hunter-killer teams, and do a search and destroy. Find the enemy, try to engage with them, and kill them, is what we did. But it was all over the Delta, all over the mountains. And that was an advantage for pilots that I flew with, because I knew the area on the ground. I knew where we were at, the mountain areas and the roads. Sometimes we used the roads to get where we were going. And so I knew which direction to go. And it always helped.
You've been around on the Jeep.
Yeah.
So is this the situation where you're the scout, and so often very low to the ground, looking, you mentioned you find weapons hanging from a tree. I'm sure we're going to hear other things that you observed and saw and engaged from the helo. And then you've got the other helo, which escapes me right now, the name of it, but you've got a fighter helo, a Cobra, right? So you've got a Cobra. So you've got, so you're
up about he's up about 400 feet above us.
So you've got a Cobra. So then what I've heard then is that if you see something, you may engage, also drop smoke, then the Cobra knows what to hit. Is that basically how that goes?
Yeah, we would fly around about 3 feet above the ground, trying to draw fire. I had my chest protector. I painted a bullseye on it. Thought it would be cool. I couldn't get the good red and white, but I had the red circles on it. Again, this was this thing that we had going on within Scouts. We all had our different weird reputations. But we get down at treetop level, a little bit lower across the top. We try to find any kind of clues of the enemy. Sampans sitting around, weeds knocked down. You follow a trail. All the weeds went down in one direction. We would go through that direction. And then, I remember, here's a specific. There was a dog. And the pilot said to me, he says, shoot at that dog. I don't want to kill that dog. He says, don't kill it. He says, just shoot at it and scare it. Let's see where it runs to. So shot some around because there was nobody around. Sure enough, the dog takes off down a rice paddy dike, cuts around another rice paddy dike, goes into a clump of little bit of trees and a little clump of dirt and stuff, right into the hole. There they were. So then we flew over there, and I dropped a couple of frags down in there. Well, one down there, and blew it up a little bit. I remember feeling really lousy that I might have killed the dog. But I felt kind of good afterwards because I saw the dog run away. In the meantime, then I laid a smoke grenade on top of it. We got out of the area, and the Cobras dove at it and blew it up more with rockets, see if anybody else was in there.
So a couple questions. You dropped some frags. So your helo then gets really low to the ground, and then from the helo you drop them, or do you jump out of the helo?
Yeah, right out the door. Yeah, out my left.
So that's how low you are. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. You want to just pitch it.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you're just going to try to pitch it in the spider hole or bunker hole, whatever's there. Yeah, you get pretty good. And I was right-handed, but you get good left-handed. And we would wrap C4 around the grenade and pull the pins. So we had this, we called them super bombs. So we had like a pound of C4 around it. We drop that whole thing down there. And the chopper itself would feel the concussion. You'd feel it move after, and the whole thing would just kind of move from the concussion. Then we'd come back, if it blew open, which happened a bunch of times, blow the top of it off. And anybody that was wounded, we'd kill
them. I want to come back to the dog because I had an interesting reaction when you mentioned the dog, and it sounds like it was similar to yours. And I'm not sure I've ever brought this up before with a combat veteran. Probably, I don't remember. When you said that the pilot said, shoot the dog, my response was, don't shoot the dog. But had the story been, and then a VC jumped up and ran, and then I shot him, I just would have sat here and listened. I had a reaction when I thought about the possibility of you shooting the dog, and it sounds like as gung ho as you were, why would I want to shoot the dog? So, what is that? What is that? How do you interpret that in your own mind? This reaction that both of us had. That
Yeah.
no, don't
The dog was so
don't shoot the
innocent,
dog.
you know.
That's
So
it.
the thing, yeah, the animal was innocent. That's what it was. Even though I had already shot water buffaloes, huge, they would have, somebody would be farming ducks, all right? So there might be maybe, I would guess maybe 400 ducks in a big area. And I'd shoot 79 rounds down there and blow up a whole bunch of ducks. I had a couple water buffaloes with 79 rounds. Um, Birds that were flying, we shot at them. Um, I didn't care about them, but there was this dog. I think that whole connection might be that, we love dogs. Dogs are our friends. Man's best friend is a dog, and that kind of whole element, I'm sure,
Yeah.
came into play.
And in the other cases, the water buffalo, the ducks, those were clearly BC resources. Is that the idea there?
Yeah, it was just something to do, fun, laugh. We laughed at stuff that we did like that. I mean, that was kind of like we would, hit a water buffalo. When we'd sit down, we'd laugh. Go, man, did you see that water buffalo's run across ground? The whole side of it opened up and hit the ground, and it's like, yeah,
Wow.
that was the order of the day. We didn't. There wasn't this feeling bad about what we were doing. We were into it big time. Um, Dropping incendiary grenades into hooches, burning them. We just get over the top, pop an incendiary grenade, it burned through an engine block. I don't recall, but I'm pretty sure that it would, the idea that we would hear that it could burn right through an engine block, which I'm sure it could. White phosphorus grenades, concussion grenades.
I want to go back to what you said
Go ahead.
a minute ago. So we would, if VC were wounded, and I'm assuming you're dealing overwhelmingly with VC, not too much NVA, all the way down to that tail end.
Yeah.
So VC wounded, and then we would kill them. So now, so I'm interested in this. So, I mean, was this a policy that, we could call medevacs to come get them, but we're not going to, or was it just understood in this context?
That was all up to me. That wasn't up to anybody. Nobody called that shot. That was what I wanted to do. I had the call on that. When the bunker blew open and they're there and I'm seeing them move, I'm just going to shoot and kill them. I got then reporting up, I got 3 KBAs. I mean, those were mine. There was.
Remind me what KBA is. I'm sorry.
Killed by air.
Okay.
Okay. So, and that's what we report. It wasn't like a competition between all of us and who killed more, but everybody respected each other, and we sort of had reputations, if you will. So you lived with your reputation. Some guys did things one way, some guys did things the other way. Some guys used certain weapons, some guys didn't use those weapons. The weapons I used were different from the weapons other guys used. And that made a significant, it was significant to your reputation. It was like, I used a 79. Guys thought that was pretty cool because it blew people up. So it was like, wow, Vertigo blows them up 79. Some guys use 60s, and they shot it, blew people up with those. That's just how it was. So when it came time when somebody was wounded, I'm going to kill him. That's it. He's not living. He's dying. That's the end of it. There was nobody to tell me I could. There was nobody to tell me I couldn't. There was a time when there was a man inside a sampan. I don't know if he was friendly, but bottom line was, and it didn't really matter. In some of the areas we were, if they were friendly, there were guys, not necessarily, I don't remember myself, but others that did kill friendlies. That I thought they were friendly, but they decided they'd kill them. We were a wing ship. We were trying to learn how to fly at lead. There were 2 walking down a road. They were holding hands, which was, their custom. And we just went by. They seemed okay. The other ship came in and just smoked them away, said they were eligible males, and killed them. That was it.
Because
Well,
it was a free fire zone or something? Would that be the
yeah,
rationale?
yeah. And but in this area that I was, this guy was in a rice paddy. He was moving a sand pan down through the rice paddy, and he had bamboo poles in there, and they were so maybe about 4 or 5 feet long. And the idea was they were hiding rockets in these things, and we bought into all that shit. So he's moving along, and we get over there, and he kind of stops, and he's looking at us, and I'm looking at him. Everything's wide open, and I got my I got my weapon on him, and the pilot yelled upstairs. He called up to the CNC command helicopter. He says, "We got an eligible male down here." And Major Kidwell, I heard him on my headphone, and kill him dead. So I'm getting ready to shoot him, and I put my car down and I grab my 79 because I want to hit him with a grenade. I want to blow him up. I don't want to miss him. I want to blow him up in front of everybody because everybody would go, "Whoa, check him out. He blew him up." It would be the big talk of the day that Vertigo blew this guy up with a 79 round. The guy went every which way. So I'm aiming at him with my 79 and I'm getting ready to squeeze off. I'm literally right there squeezing off on him. I always remember how intense that was. And I'm getting ready to let go. And suddenly he's got his hands up in the air. He brings his hands together and he starts to pray. And I stop. I'm like, whoa, this guy's praying to God. That's what I said to myself. And I stopped and I went, whoa. And I realized within my whole self of being, I can't kill this guy. I said to the pilot on the radio, I said, I can't kill him. I said, he's praying. I said, what? He said, kill him, Vertigo. I go, no. I said, he's praying. I said, you can kill him if you want. I said, I'm not praying. I said, I'm not killing him. He goes, okay. So he got on the radio and we had a communication between the two of us. And then there was a communication upstairs. They didn't always hear what we were talking about. So he called the old man upstairs, said, look, he says, my Oscar doesn't want to kill him. He goes, what the fuck's going on there? He's killing you, pussy. He goes, no, he's down here praying. So Kidwell said, okay. He says, we'll come down and pick him up. So in the meantime, the old man now wants to try to show me he's got nothing in the sampan. And I'm screaming at him. I got my weapon pointed. Now I put my 79 down. I got my car in my hand. And I'm like screaming at him, trying to and waving my weapon to try to tell him to get away. Because now I'm panicking that he's going for something. I got to kill him. And I've already established he's talking to God. So I'm really kind of freaking out inside at this point, a real panickiness. And I'm like screaming at him, get away, get away. And the pilot, he moved the helicopter over there. And finally the wind from the chopper blades just kind of pushed the sampan away. And he was just kind of standing there by himself. And I felt a sense of relief. And then the CNC command chopper came down and picked him up and took him away. So I don't know anything.
I'm sorry.
I don't know whether he was VC later, whether they interpreted him or whether they killed him or anything. Just that I know that he was gone and it wasn't on me.
So what I'm wondering is, first, if his having his hands together like that in a gesture of prayer, I'm wondering whether him doing that humanized him in a sense, and perhaps it's not something you're conscious of. And then I'm a question I wanted to ask you is, I think there's a photo of I believe it's a Catholic priest, a chaplain, doing a service among your photos, of Italian heritage. So my guess would be that you have some, at least traditional connection to the Catholic Church. And I don't want to read too much into it, and this is not something you're consciously processing. When you see that guy in a posture of prayer, do you think all of that stuff just kind of instantly comes into your mind? I can relate to this. I've seen this hundreds of times before at the Catholic Church. This guy's a human. Do you think that, I mean, does that make sense,
Yeah.
that him doing that humanized him in your mind?
Yeah. I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic high school, grade school. All of that was instilled in me. And when at that moment, it was strong. Prior to that, I prayed. There were times that I was praying, but I didn't see them as, ironically enough, on Easter, April 6th of 69, I was at Makwa and it was Easter and we decided to go to church and we went to a Vietnamese church and it was the first time I really understood why we had a Latin mass. The mass was in Latin. I understood the whole thing. And actually a friend of mine that was, he wasn't Catholic. He went to communion. We had him have his first communion that day. But that night, ironically enough, we ended up getting hit at Marquois. But yeah, there was this there at that moment with that guy, there was that realization that it didn't matter. He was praying to God, and the God had come into play on this whole thing and said, you're not killing him, and he's not killing you. This game's over. I just, it was shocking. It was hard to take, but I left it behind. After that, it wasn't anything that came into play for the next night or week after or anything like that. It was that moment. I was back to killing, looking to kill somebody later on. That after that moment, the rest of the day, it was like, let's find some people and kill them.
You were shot down. Can you relate that story?
Yeah, that was September 19th of '69.